goodness. Let me hop over here to our announcements page. This is our final week, and I've received several emails this week on the research paper. I really hope that you have chosen your theorist because you're really interested in them. Oh, Jasmine, thank you. I was trying to figure that out. Thank you, Jasmine. There we go. I got your name down. So I hope you've chosen a theorist that you're really drawn to for whatever reason. Maybe you're interested in the way they present ECE. Let me see. Oh, I got Opal down. Oh, there's Brittany too. Fantastic. So so that you can go a little more in depth and learn a little more about their theories on education and their approaches to educating young children. Oh, Kyle, you chose yourself as a theorist. Hey, at a certain age and with a certain amount of experience, you definitely feel like you have that ability there, right, Kyle? You totally could. I believe it was Piaget that studied his grandchildren quite a bit, so you could be right up there. We need more modern theorists. So you're polishing up your paper. You've chosen your theorist, and you're using APA formatting. And I believe, in fact, I believe it was Patty that sent me the email that said, does this apply to the entire paper, APA formatting, or just to the citations page? And yes, it just applies to the citation page. So that's how I would like your citations set up, is using the APA format. So don't worry about the rest of the stuff. Remember, you're about 2 to 3 pages total, double-spaced. And APA, and Kyle, I have some links on our course page about APA formatting. It's just a way of setting up the citation. CCC has begun using it as our standard in all programs. So there's lots of websites, and I believe I put a link to it in our announcements area as well. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Jasmine. So if you look in our announcements area on our course page, Jasmine, I believe there's a few links there too, so that I give you a little more information. Also, all assignments for this course, all 4 weeks, are due Sunday at midnight. And I noticed whenever I was going through grading, for week 3, I had an unusually large amount of zeros. And here's where I give my little speech. I don't want you to feel like you have fallen behind and you can't catch up. And I don't want you to feel like you're the only person having issues in your life, because it happens. You know, I've had so many different events happen to students and in the course of a program, in the course of an e-text in general, that I couldn't even list them all. And they're all very unique, and we all react our different ways. And so I want you to know that maybe you got a few zeros in week 3, but go ahead and get those done and turn them in when you can. Finish out week 4. What I really don't want to see is for someone to give up, because maybe they've had a car wreck, they've lost a family member. There's so many things that can happen. You've had a kiddo that's sick. Maybe you've even lost a job. There's so many things that can go down. But keep moving forward and finish what you've started, because these classes are hard to rearrange as far as making up. Our ECE classes are offered in a cycle, and also when you retake a class, if you fail a class and you have to retake it, the retake fee is the same as the initial fee. So you're looking at around $1,400 to retake a class. Sometimes that's covered in your financial aid, and sometimes if you don't have enough financial aid, that winds up being money that you have to pay to the school or in payment forms, you know, once a month until you get that paid off. And that's what I don't want to see happen. I want you to go ahead and pull it out. Maybe you're an A student, you're going to make a B this time. Maybe you're a B student and you're barely going to make a D. Just go ahead and get that done. Pass that class, turn on those assignments. And I want you to treat every assignment as important. Don't skip anything. I've seen students in the past that turned in amazing assignments. Maybe they were A grade students, but they didn't do any of the live lecture summaries. And guys, that's 10% of your grade. So that brings you down a whole grade level. So even if it's late, turn it in, okay? Don't give up. Don't just stop submitting things, because I've seen that happen so many times. I'll be here rooting for you. And if you need any help, please email me. I'd gladly give you a list of things that you need to turn in and help out as much as I can, okay? I'm here for you is what I'm trying to say, guys. You can do it. I like this. I didn't come this far to only come this far. Yeah, keep going. Student question of the week. How much does it take to retake a course? I just told you this. The same as the first time, approximately $1,400. Save money, pass the class. In any class, even if it's not me, contact your instructor. Don't give up. Keep chugging along. Be that little engine. Okay, guys, chapter 4. We're going to go over a little bit of curriculum models tonight. We've talked about theorist already. We've talked about early childhood education theorist. And now we're going to go on to some of the different approaches or curriculum. And you've seen this name come up several times. You've read a little bit about Maria Montessori. Her philosophy is really amazing. Again, I believe it was Patty that pointed out, she looked up how many Montessori schools we have around Tulsa and found at least 3 fairly easily. And we're seeing this philosophy spread more and more. So it really, her philosophy takes advantages of these sensitive periods where children can learn. And, you know, a big part of that is just seizing the moment. When a child is interested in something, that's when we want to sit down and address it and talk about it. We don't want to say, hey, we're going to cover that next week, because they're going to forget by then, or even if it's the next day or the next hour. So seize the moment, seize the day. They have very absorbent minds. They're very much into sensorial materials, conceptual materials. She was very big on practicing life skills, which I love, because this is what we really need, right? And didactic teaching materials. So Maria Montessori, here's an example of a Montessori classroom. And those of you that are on a computer should be able to see this fairly easily. These are just beautiful. Oh, Sarah, you're using her. Great. Fantastic. Her classrooms are beautiful. Lots of nature inspired in there, lots of natural colors. And to me, looking at this classroom, it's very relaxing. Of course, it has an inquisitive side. There are things that you want to explore on those shelves, but it's also a very home-like environment. So I think it's great to be able to see examples of these different types of theorist and curriculum. The next is Bank Street. Lucy Sprague Mitchell came up with this. Developmental interaction approach, very big on socializing, which is so important in the early years. Emphasis on the play. Again, we preach this over and over, how important play is to a child's development. Oh, there's Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. Developing the whole child instead of just focusing on education, just focusing on math, science. They really focus on everything. Let me get Marilyn's name written down here. A very integrated curriculum, mixed age classrooms, and can we talk about these for just a moment, because this came up on our discussion boards as well. How do you guys feel about mixed age classrooms? Yes, we can, Kyle. So instead of having the 2-year-olds off to themselves, the 3-year-olds off to themselves. It depends on the age differences, Patty. Okay, so what would you say is an appropriate age range? What would you guys like to see as far as a mixed age classroom? 2 to 3 years apart, yep, that might be a good range. So they're still, you know, developmentally on about the same block, different levels, but you know, if we take into account the 2-year-olds can learn some of the things the 4-year-olds are doing, you know, they kind of become their role models in a way, and hopefully in a positive way. And each child that knows how to do something different can share with others. Sarah, okay, I love that idea. My child care home has ages 1 to 3 and love seeing them interact together. Oh, I so agree. The younger ones learn so much from the older kids. The older kids love to help the babies. They do. They do. And isn't that something great so early on to be able to foster that, to be able to encourage older children taking care of the younger children? You're right. They kind of baby on them sometimes, don't they? They really want to help out. So yes, I am a big fan. To a certain point, right? I really think 5th grade should be about the end of your grade school years. I am personally a fan of high schools that have 9th grade off to themselves, because I think 9th grade is such a unique, strange age that for them to be away from the older influence is actually kind of good. So, and at the same time, they're not 7th and 8th grade anymore. They're a little bit more mature. So I know in some larger schools they have 9th grade centers. They're all very good. Well, good. So mixed age classes, balance of teacher and student-led activities. Again, we want them to feel like they can choose some things. We're not just being told what to do on a daily basis, because that gets very old, very tiring. Here's an example of a Bank Street classroom. So they bring real-world experiences into the classroom, and in this one, they have made cookies and biscuits and scones, and they've set up a store, and they've got on their chef's hats, and who knows, I don't know if they're really selling things, but if they were, they could be selling for money to raise money. They could, or just be giving out of the kindness of their heart. So I love this approach to education. I'm a fan of Bank Street. Okay, next, Reggio Emilia, another one that I love. Image of a strong child, environment as the teacher, so they really focus on what's going on in the classroom and what's going on outside as well. We're setting this up a lot in a Reggio Emilia. The 100 languages of children is one of their concepts. They really work at building relationships between adults and children, children and children. Long-term projects based on children's interest, which I really love that about Reggio, is that the children are doing a little bit of their own steering by what they're truly interested in. And they're really big on their method of documentation. Now here's another example. Here's a Reggio Emilia example, kind of similar to the Montessori. Again, we've got nature-inspired interiors. They have very specifics on their lighting that they like you to use in the classroom. I do too, Kyle. I do. We've got natural elements as far as, of course, we've got sand, which isn't unusual in an ECE classroom, but here we've got sand and rocks for them to play with, maybe water on the other end. The lighting is very soothing. They try to steer away from harsh lighting that we sometimes get in centers. Lots of plants for the children to be around and help care for. Is it? So it's your favorite? That's fantastic, yeah. Still rice is less messy. You're right, Patty. You're right. So, and you can see from this classroom too, on the far side, you've got a little taxidermy going on. We've got a neat sort of dress-up area with a loft on the right-hand side. And I've seen several of these classrooms, and I would love to teach in this environment. If I were teaching young children again, I would definitely hop on the chance to do that. Okay, next, Waldorf approach. Pedagogy based on the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner. Attention to daily and annual rhythms, including the seasons and the celebrations. So winter, spring, summer, fall. Emphasis on imagination and creativity. Some children really flourish in this type of environment, and you guys have all been around kids that have had just a little more imagination than some of the others have, right? Very artsy, very creative, always wanting to do crafts, so you can see how they might fit in this a little bit better. Also an attention to spiritual dimension with the Waldorf, which I think is wonderful as well. Integrated curriculum with elements of practical aesthetics and intellectual development. And here is a picture of a Waldorf classroom. I love these little tables. So the children are seated on, instead of regular hard seats that you would see in a classroom, they've got sort of little bean bags. You've got 2 kids to each artist table. They've got all their supplies, big pieces of paper. And the teachers are giving a little guidance, but at the same time they're also very free to be very creative in this type of curriculum. And I love the colors and the feel of this curriculum. High scope. Okay, this is one that we actually see quite a bit in our area. We see high scope, and we also see creative curriculum used quite a bit. Have any of you guys used high scope or creative, those of you that have worked in ECE centers? I know several of you are already working in centers or have in the past. No? So high scope is active learning. You plan the day at the beginning, you do your day, and then you review what you did at the end of the day. Several of these approaches do this similar thing, and I really love this in whatever curriculum you happen to choose for to have that at the end of the day. That's actually, yeah, exactly, Kyle, exactly. So, you know, if you were teaching a class of adults, you'd talk about what we're going to cover, we'd cover it, and then we'd review it at the end to kind of bring it back up in your mind. So we want to do the same thing with our little critters as well. Also, they have a child observation record, and it's considered a more traditional method of instruction, but at the same time progressive enough. So high scope classroom. So can you see a big difference here in a high scope classroom compared to the Montessori or the Reggio? So it's a lot more color, right? And some people and some children are going to feel better in this type of a classroom than in the more low-key classroom, right? So Kyle, you like the plants? Jessica, are you drawn to like the colors, the bright colors? It's a little more of an energetic classroom. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, the important thing is that, you know, we're all different as humans, and children are all different in the way they learn and the environments that they're happiest in. So when you're looking for a center to teach in, it's best to pick one that's going to match you as well. You love the colors? Yeah. We've got a little nature there. It's very well organized, and it's a little more right, energetic, a more childlike environment as opposed to a more home-like environment, right? So primary colors all over the place. And who doesn't love, when you were little, let me get my pointer out here. This right here, these blocks. Did everyone play with those at some point in a kindergarten or in a preschool? They're just simple cardboard blocks, but you know, little boxes, but they were so much fun to build and then tear down and rebuild again. Tinker Toys as well, Patty. I loved Tinker Toys. And Lincoln Logs. Yeah. We do still see those from time to time. So you guys get the idea. You find a program that matches the child, but you also find a program that matches you as a parent or as a teacher. And from studying some of these different theorists and different curriculum that's available out there, I think you'll have more of an idea of where you might be a good fit at. And I'll tell you what, in an ECE job interview, one of the best things that you can ask is, what curriculum do you use? And that's going to show them you're knowledgeable, that you have an idea of the big ones out there, but also it'll tell you if this may be a good fit for you as well. So here's a little bit of a comparison. Now this print's really small. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but this compares high scope, Montessori, Waldorf, and Reggio Emilia. And those are, yeah, kind of the big ones. If we also had creative curriculum on here, it would be even better. But high scope, your classroom might have a pretend area, a block area, manipulative sensory area, and a cozy area. So a typical classroom, right, that we would normally see in public school and in daycare. A Montessori classroom, practical life experiences, sensory, language, mathematics, geography, also the emphasis on looking at different cultures and natural materials as opposed to the brighter colors. Waldorf classroom, a home-like environment with an emphasis on natural materials. And Reggio Emilia, indoor plants, natural lighting. They really try to use as much natural light as they can. Open spaces, kitchens, mirrors. They use mirrors a lot, and also light boxes for rearranging shapes on. Photographs, artwork that the children have done, natural materials, and workspaces. So this gives you an idea. So now that you can sort of picture when each of these come up, what type of a classroom you might be in. So lastly, on the curriculum, I believe, yes, the creative curriculum. You're going to see this in so many centers in Oklahoma. In fact, about, gosh, I would guess at least 50% of the centers that I go into, they use the creative curriculum. Sometimes it's also called Creative Curriculum Gold, which is their online version. They have versions of creative curriculum for large schools, for home schools, for parent-taught situations as well, all different price ranges. I'm wanting to say the home-based or family care version, home-based center care, was around $500 or $600 for the whole curriculum. So yes, it would be an investment, but you would be set up with a lot of your plans and your activities that you could then add to and enrich on your own. So creative curriculum, you can check them out online. They focus on learning environments and interest centers or learning centers, whichever you want to call them. Careful observation of the children, following a developmental continuum, which we're all a fan of as well. Partnerships with families, and again, very common in our area. So here's an example of creative curriculum classroom, and what I wouldn't give for that rug. Oh, I love that rug. We've got the sun in the middle, you've got numbers, and then the letters of the alphabet on the outside, and there's so many different activities you could do just with that rug alone. Would be great for morning time, it would be great for reading time. and to have them recognizing their letters and numbers simply by using the rug. What are all the papers on the walls? That's a good question, Patty. I think it looks like directions as far as how to use centers or different areas. I wish I could blow it up a little bit more, but I don't think I can. I've never looked at that as an option. The print is fairly small, and really that amount of wording too, you wouldn't necessarily see in a preschool classroom. It looks like something more for older kids, doesn't it? Because you would need fairly simple words and phrases, and down on the children's level as well. So I wish I could blow that up and look. That would drive you nuts, Patty. I kind of understand that. You know, I went into a kindergarten classroom one time, and this was about 3 years ago, and you could see hardly any wall. It was completely covered with letters and poems and colors, and it was way too cluttered. That's how I felt in this classroom, Kyle, too. Way too cluttered, hard to focus. To me, it was almost hard for the kids to calm down in the classroom as well. There was a little too much going on. So you can do too much decoration, right? You don't want to have too little. That's boring. But you can do too much. You don't want them to be overstimulated. Okie doke. Replace with artwork the children created. That's a very good idea. Yeah. Kyle, you'd be anxious in that classroom? Exactly, and we have to consider that, guys, as adults. You know, we can recognize the feelings that we're having, but children can't necessarily tell us what's going on, but they may act anxious or maybe acting out because of their environment. So certainly. So I hope that's giving you guys an idea of some of the different curriculum models out there and different styles of classrooms. And I hope that you're starting to be drawn to one of them maybe to focus on. Somebody's not observing their environment. You're right, Patty. That cracks me up. Whenever I pulled this, I'm just hoping for cooler weather. Obviously, whenever I pulled this PowerPoint up, it was from last December, and there were also pictures of holly throughout it, so I forgot to change the snowman. I'm just going to say it's wishful thinking. That snowman's going to melt pretty soon. So, guys, thank you so much for showing up. Do you have any questions right now? We're at Thursday. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're done. Of course, if you have emails, questions this weekend, be sure to email me. I'll try to get right back with you. And if that's it, you guys can skedaddle. Oh, my goodness, Jessica, this is your last ECE. Oh, I'm going to miss having you in class. That's right. You're going to have fun in externship, though. All right, you guys have a great night. Oh, exactly. Thank you, Patty. Thank you. You guys have a great night. Email me if you have any questions. If something comes up, I'd be happy to help out, okay?